Hello, I am Orange Cat, and this is my analysis of Toonami's ratings for October 6, 2018. This is the second week of the 7-hour challenge, and let's be quick and just say right off the bat, these were horrible ratings this week. Let's start with Dragon Ball Z Kai with a .17. That's just ugly, a 400th drop right there. Almost 100,000 total viewers dropped too. When was the last time Dragon Ball Z got under 550,000 people watching? I don't think that's ever happened before. And then right off the bat, debatably the biggest losers of the week up front here. My Hero Academia dropped for the second straight week, dropped a touchdown. Now its ratings the past 2 weeks have in total been cut in half, and barely 400,000 people watching. That's just disappointing to say the least. Shippuden came back to earth and then some. Actually, with lower numbers than it got at 2 a.m. Boruto back to a point, down to a .17, a disappointing drop. Fully Cooley, not as bad a drop. It's sad to say that Fully Cooley is one of the big winners this week, only because it didn't lose that much. And that's a very disappointing thing to say. Attack on Titan also dropped a bit, still ahead of Fully Cooley in the ratings. JoJo had a really ugly week, a .13. And you got to a point where Black Clover and Hunter x Hunter beat it, albeit Black Clover edged out in total viewers, despite both being a .14 in the ratings. One Punch Man built on Hunter x Hunter this week. Really disappointing for Hunter x Hunter that it got built on by a rerun, but ugh. And then you have the other end of the block. You have Lupin the Third, Cowboy Bebop each down a tiny bit, and then you have Samurai Jack being steady. Samurai Jack is the only show this week that did not drop. Like I said, this has been a very, very disappointing week for the network, for Toonami. I mean, my theory and what the most likely thing is, this was the first time that it was built that it Toonami led off Adult Swim for the night. Last week with the 7-hour challenge, at least the block from 8 to 9 o'clock was Adult Swim programming, and I think Adult Swim programming builds better into Toonami than Amazing World of Gumball, which was the show that aired in the 8 o'clock hour last Saturday, since Cartoon Network, at least for the time being, now has that hour back. Although it's something they've had occasionally in the fall and in the winter for the past few years, where they would get the 8 o'clock hour back. I remember specifically in 2015, Cartoon Network used that hour to air Stakes. Yeah, back when Adventure Time was somewhat relevant. Uh, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, just saying they were not that relevant towards the end. But yeah, and I think Toonami viewers, if you tune in early, like, you can help me out here in the comment section. You could sit through a Family Guy, you could sit through a Rick and Morty, even if you don't necessarily like those shows, to wait to get to Dragon Ball. I mean, but would you sit through and wait through, say, Amazing World of Gumball, which I'll admit is one of the better shows on Cartoon Network, but it's not something you would. It's not something the average Toonami viewer would really want to see, and I think that just killed the ratings. But that's just my theory, since it was getting better ratings when Family Guy, when Rick and Morty were like the lead up to the block. And since it was a universal drop, and I don't see any other reason why it would drop this much this week, not last week. So I don't think it's necessarily a schedule as much as just the lead up to the schedule. But just very disappointing. Once again, I'm going to reiterate, I don't think William Street's going to profit off of the Fully Cooley experiment. Like, I know streaming's doing well, but I don't think it can nearly make enough streaming to make up for the lack of ad revenue it's getting with these horrible ratings. Like, Progressive was doing like much better ratings. I was like always in the .2s, with the exception of 1 week. And then you have Alternative that only one time got to a .2. That's something you don't want to see. And that's just something very disappointing for the block, disappointing for the network. Also, you gotta note how JoJo dropped a bit. That's not something you want to see, especially how I'll say devoted to the property that Adult Swim, that Toonami is, that they just straight went to Diamond is Unbreakable after Stardust Crusaders. and it's something that you don't want to see, especially if you're a fan, because that makes them picking up the fifth series or fifth season of JoJo a little thrown in the air. And that's disappointing for me because personally, I really like the JoJo series. Not much more else to say about it. I mean, at least we didn't get a rating below a .10. I don't think that's ever happened in Toonami before. But at the same time, I think these are probably the lowest aggregate ratings in the entire block's history. And that's not hyperbole with cable cutting these days. I don't think any time way back in the past it ever had these bad of numbers. I don't think when it was a daytime block it ever got these bad numbers. I mean, just a few years ago, you're getting shows easily in the hit a million viewers. And something like Dragon Ball at the start of the summer was consistently getting 800,000, 900,000 people. And now you can barely get 550,000 people. And that's at a greater rate than cable cutting. So there's more to work. And like I said, my theory is that it's the lead up to the block, not necessarily the schedule itself. Although I don't think it's a wise scheduling decision to put something as niche as Fully Coolly Alternative immediately after Dragon Ball Super. Those are two different, completely different types of anime, and they do not mesh well together. And like I said, I think the only reason why they did it like that is because they're hoping that Super would kind of carry Alternative because that was their biggest investment on the block right now. So when Alternative goes into reruns or when it gets pulled off the block, I mean, their biggest investment would probably be either Boruto or My Hero Academia, probably My Hero Academia. So I would not be surprised if when that happens, they'll try to do the schedule in such a way to actually at least maybe move up Super so My Hero Academia is sandwiched by the Dragon Ball shows. But like I said, I think they're really devout to the Naruto Boruto Power Hour. I mean, it's just there's not much to like about this. And I think Konami's put itself into a bit of a quandary here. I mean, I'll have more about it next week with the ratings. And I'll have more to say, especially since it'll be the last week of Fully Coolly Alternative, or at least airing new episodes. Let's hope Cowboy Bebop slot when it ends instead of being rerun at 3:30. Let's hope it gets pushed back to 3 because, dear God, the alternative rerun. If you thought Pop Team Epic's ratings were bad, just imagine alternative if it's given a rerun at the 11:30 slot. That would be suicidal for the block. But I just want to see the block do well, and I'm not seeing it right now. And I'm not gonna jump to a hot take and say we need to fire Jason DeMarco or we need to cut back Toonami, but I mean, at this point, there's not much there's not much to like about this, and it's very sad to see. I mean, especially considering how well Toonami had held up relative to the rest of cable, especially late Saturday nights, which is not the best time for TV considering a lot of people are out and about. And Toonami was a mainstay and was a bit of a stronghold that was able to hold good numbers for so long. But it's not doing that anymore. And like I said, we're in different times now. And unfortunately, we're in these different times. But I also have to say, what do you think about my comments? Why do you think that the ratings dropped so low? I want to hear your comments in the comments section. If you like this video, if you want to see more content like that, please subscribe. Please hit that notification button. I love you guys. I am Orange Cat, and that is